We want to try and be on time, although I learned this week being on time in Davos is almost impossible. Um, we did an event on Monday, and some people came 1 hour late, and there was no way you could avoid it because logistics are just difficult. So we are happy that you are here. So you made it, and that means you are passionate for the topic. Are you passionate for the topic? Fantastic. Here we go. Oh, feel the energy. You know that we have hard competition next door. It's Deepak Chopra. So energy-wise, I think we are more in the upper scale. Why? Maybe now they are in deep mental meditation mode. Doesn't matter. We can be louder, right? So I want to welcome you. We will spend time together. We have two groups of amazing participants here on the panel, and we have two parts. First part is, and we talk only about innovation, right? So this is the strength. I think, actually, from my perspective, probably the most important thing we need right now on the planet. We need to innovate many things, not only products, but there's many things we should change. But I think, as coming from Germany, I'm very passionate about innovation, and that we know how relevant it is that you always keep innovating, right? If you stop, you're actually out of business very soon. So we start with the first panel, and we look at solutions that actually, what technical solutions enable innovation and innovation process. And we invited those experts here. And in the second round, we look at business models, and we also want to talk a little bit about AI. Although I heard many people like to avoid AI because there's too AI. You cannot even talk about it. It's everywhere. So we want to see what we can do there. But I think the topic itself is broad and interesting. So what we do quick is that we have those fantastic people here, and everybody quickly says name, function, and then company, so that you know whom to talk to, because we want to invite you as well to ask questions, right? Okay? So, Kiki, you want to start? Wait a second, have to up, yes?
Hi. Kiki del Valle. I am president for North Latin America for MasterCard. Basically, the region covers, my specific division covers for Mexico, Central America, and the Caribbean.
Hello. Kate Opaidze. I work for one of the best telcos at Sunrise, in Switzerland, Sunrise. And I lead the transformation projects and customer excellence projects.
My name is Raquel Navarro. I work at Roche, and most of you will associate that with the pharmaceutical, and that's absolutely true. But actually, I do work in the division that works on the diagnostics, and specifically on the Roche information systems, which are all the decentralized, in the lab and outside the lab, technologies that we put in the hands of our doctors and our patients to help with their lives.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ivan. I'm from Lufthansa Innovation Hub. I'm director for strategic intelligence, and what we do in my team is we try to enable to understand what's happening within the ecosystem, what the trends and technologies are there, and bring them to the company with understanding how we can use it to bring these innovative ideas into life and solve some challenges in the company.
Thank you. So I'll start with an easy question for you. I would like to know, what role does innovation play in your organization? Because as I said, some product-driven companies do innovation on the product side. With somebody like you and MasterCard, we say, oh, interesting. So how do you implement innovation across the group, and what do you do there?
Yeah. So my role within the organization, of course, I'm much more closer to the market, right? I mean, so my role is specifically more on how we execute on the innovation and really drive that localization component, that customized component into the fold. So for us at MasterCard, we're very much focused on driving inclusive growth. It is about how do we get access to financial services for everybody across the entire planet. That is fundamentally for us. It is not philanthropy. It is just the way that we do business, right? We benefit as an ecosystem. Economies as a whole benefit as an ecosystem from greater formality, and then from being able to bring more people into the financial journey. So we do have to be extremely innovative when it comes to addressing those custom needs. for products to be able to scale, because as a company, we actually have a mandate that if it doesn't scale, it doesn't matter, right? So majority of the products and the expectation from consumers is that irrespective of whether you are in Mexico or you are in Switzerland, that MasterCard needs to work. So there's fundamentals that we keep, but then innovating within that to meet basic and local needs is extremely important for us.
And maybe structurally, how do you do that? Do you have like a central innovation hub, like Lufthansa, for example, has a team dedicated, or do you do this by country because of the specifics, or how do you organize that?
So as an organization, we have a full product team. We work in a collaborative manner. So in many ways, we bring more people into to work with MasterCard. We do it programmatic in that we actually have different programs around the globe. One of them, for example, being MasterCard Start Path. That's a global program in which we work with fintechs, for example. We work with startups. Those fintechs and startups, I mean, many of them are actually, could be from my market. So pushing them in through that program in a way that it's aligned with products, our global products organization, questioning the scale component, but also the applicability to the market. And then, so that's one way that we do it. We also invest in many fintechs just based on coming from this program. So it serves as a way to drive innovation. It also serves as a way for us to continue to push the limits within the company. We have a full group within the product organization that is led by a chief innovation officer, and that there's task forces that are built. So we bring those needs into that team, and then we do build-ups, prototypes directly with that group by actually deploying them into the markets to see what is actually needed. It also helps serve to bring the scalability component, because a solution that may actually work for Indonesia could be the same solution that can work for Mexico, for example.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much for that insight. Kate, tell us a little bit about telcos. Everybody knows telcos, especially when they don't work. Of course, Sunrise always works. That's a great thing. So how do you work with innovation at Sunrise?
Yes, I totally agree, because I'm sure everyone is using phones here, right? And you all have SIM cards, and everyone has internet, so we all know exactly what telco is. And now at Sunrise, we either innovate or die. There is nothing else, because the competition is extremely high, and I'm sure those of you who live in Switzerland, you know who our competitors are, but we have won, not even once, the outstanding mark for our internet and connectivity, and it's not like I'm making advertisement here. Back to innovation. So we do have Innovation Hub actually too, and we invite our clients to see that. That's an extremely exciting lab where you can see all the emerging technologies that we adopt and how we actually incorporate that at work. At the same time, we absolutely believe that there is no innovation if our employees do not innovate. And that is only possible if we let them take the mundane tasks and delegate to our favorite AI agents, right? And all the helpful technologies out there. And we even recently had this success story with Microsoft where we implemented the Copilot, and this is really a wonderful use case because I personally am a huge fan of that technology. Does anyone use Copilot here? Yes, because it really helps you recap the meetings. We don't have to be in those mundane meetings. Really, it takes away from that mental capacity. And then we really can, we use it for emails, writing emails and everyday work, because we know it's the basis for our communication. And then, of course, it helps us create a lot of documents. So innovation is only there when we are able to take away the mundane tasks.
So you innovate as well in your actual process, like in internal processes as well.
Absolutely,
Okay.
yes.
Super interesting. Raquel, you work for one of the largest life science companies on the planet. You put immense amount of money into, finding new drugs that can help us as human beings to, extend our life or cure us. So I would guess that probably innovation is at the core of what Roche does. So yeah, please share a little bit. What do you do?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we either do something innovative or we don't do it, because we're not in the businesses of faster, cheaper cheaper generics or things like that. So, but also I would like to bring light not only to, so we do innovate, of course, in life science. So we do obviously have an R&D department that kind of like got a lot of medical knowledge, and they are doing all this innovation. But I will say that the way in which embedded in the company is through basically all our services, and remember I'm more on the digital health service and the diagnostics, and we know diagnostics in a revolution now. We were chatting before with some people, and everybody did the home testing during COVID, right? So there is no question now about decentralized testing and home testing and outside the lab. So we know all of that. So that requires both biotechnology, but also require a shift of mindset and a collaboration mindset. So what we are doing is within the business units, we had a 360 view. In order to innovate in digital health, we have to yes, that take into account the entire ecosystem. So you need to talk to patients, you need to understand how they are, what is their journey in their homes, what is their journey when they go to see the primary care doctor. You need to talk to the primary care doctor, you need to talk to the secondary care doctor, and you need to integrate all that knowledge, and as we love to call it, we fall in love with the problem that we are solving. And that is how the business units do not kind of like have a lab generating kind of like new idea of services for the digital part mainly, but it's more about all the services actually, they are innovative. And also we're lucky that the digital health is by definition a new kind of like area.
We will dig deeper a little bit later. Ivan, flying through the air, Lufthansa Innovation Hub. So tell us what you do, because you would say it's a product not changing really. We enter the plane, we fly, we land. So we are doing this every week, some people. What are you looking at for Lufthansa?
Good question, thank you. So for Lufthansa, important to understand, there is Lufthansa Group and there is Lufthansa Airline. So airline is basically the airline you're flying with. Lufthansa Group unites many different companies, portfolio of more than 30 companies from about 9 airlines, but also some other businesses like Lufthansa Technik, who do some renovation or maintenance of the aircrafts, and all other different companies included there as well. When we talk about the Lufthansa Innovation Hub, we have to keep in mind that it's all about digital innovations. Why it's so? Because if we want to do something kind of physical innovations or within the airline business, it's very long in time, so we will not see the immediate impacts. With the Innovation Hub, we want to bring these innovations much closer and much to the customers and to the business and much faster. So we want to have an opportunity to do something, fail fast, and do something new again. Fail fast culture, it's very important for us as well, because then we can test many different things and try to see what we can do.
It's the opposite of flying, right? I don't want Lufthansa
to
show me how to fail fast, of course.
Yeah, so
that's why we have a separate company for that.
Okay. Yeah, we don't touch the airplane.
It's a separate company for that. That's good, yeah. Yes. Okay, but tell us, you look at startups as well, like you do as well, right? So you look for innovation outside, you innovate inside the company as well, and you do forecasting, that's right?
Yes, just a couple of words about that. So Lufthansa Innovation Hub contains like 3 main capabilities. First one is to understand the ecosystem, trends, technologies, what's happening right now, what are the startups started to appear. So we monitor a lot of them, like more than 5,000 different startups and media, and we use all different tools in order to do so. And then we understand the ecosystem, what's next in travel, right? Because we want to accelerate the next in travel with our capabilities. And the next capability is actually the team who does venture building. So they realize these ideas, then create new businesses. And then we see how we can implement them in the group, in the company. So how we can make the travel experience better, and as well to bring them to the market.
And is this an offering? Because I saw, there's different types of how to organize this. You can have a hub, and then hub presents to all group companies, and then group company can say, interesting, I try, or they say, interesting, I don't try. So they don't take it, right? You can present it, because I think every organization is very different, and there's actually, I think there's no need to take your ideas, right? So producing 100 ideas and maybe 5 make it, or is that?
Yeah, that's right. We the ideas come from different sources, right? So they come one side from ecosystem, we understand the trends and see, okay, that's something really hot in travel, so well, we need to realize otherwise competitor will take it and they will be better. That's one thing. Another thing is the big source of ideas and information is actually comes from the group. When the guy's saying like, look, I mean, there is something is happening, I don't know, ancillary team, we don't really know what to do, we're trying to sell some stuff, but it doesn't really work, or we want to optimize the waste of food on board, like, and we don't know really what to do. And then we collaborate with them, we try to bring these ideas to life. So many times it doesn't really work because we see, okay, the business doesn't really will work with this idea, but we iterate, and then at the end of the day, something will come up and we integrate this into the business units. And if not, so, but still successful, we can throw it to the market.
And you you actually support the transformationists, right? You told me.
Yes, I haven't finished yet. We have another capability which actually supports group with the different workshops on actually how to be more agile, how to embrace innovation, how to embrace the change.
Hello?
Embrace the change.
We are finishing on time.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh wow. we are good. Oh no, it's on the laptop.
It's on the laptop, yeah.
Somebody on the laptop is calling.
Should we take the call? I think they're trying to figure it out. There you go.
Oh, gave up. Okay. That's funny. It's the first time I had this. That's an innovative approach, right? So everybody's woken up now. If you slept, you're now woken up now. Yeah, AI did a test,
That's right.
disrupting our 45 minutes, right? That's a very innovative approach. But you were just mentioning that you are supporting the group on transformation, right?
Yes.
So, because I would like to go back now and say, depending on the size of the company and depending on the age of the company, we see very different degrees of adoption of an innovation mindset and digital mindset. I come from Germany, who have a hard time. So, we struggle to organize, a meeting in your city. It takes like 4 months to get a city meeting because they print things. They have Excel charts and stuff like that, and you can call. So we really struggle. So I would like to understand, or maybe, it's Shetland rules here, nobody knows about it. Where do you see your company right now when it comes to the adaptability rates? I worked with Singularity for a long time. We always said, it's not about IQ, right? Remember, because everybody, they are very intelligent people, all of them, right? Still, intelligent people can take very bad decisions, right? Remember Lehman Brothers? Very smart people taking very bad decisions. So it's all about AQ, right? It's about adaptability quotient. How much is an organization able to adapt in a new environment? How quick can you turn an organization? And what is needed from the leadership side, we will ask those people here as well, to do it. Because, of course, the bigger you are, the harder it is. And especially when you have a legacy, it's hard. And coming back to Lufthansa is a legacy company. You work with probably 150,000 different IT systems. Then, then you integrate 10 more airlines, a total nightmare for everybody working on this. So your day-to-day work is hard already. So how do you convince people in the organization to still innovate and join you on their journey? Share a little bit, if you can.
I think, yes, I can. Well, the very simple thing, you have to get a sponsor from executive board. Someone who is actually into innovations and understand that new things it's important to bring to the company. And we were able to convince people on the board that innovation is important. So, and how we did this, we just simply were annoying people who are going to group. We were going to all these bigger meetings and talking about this. The problem is the executive board is changing. So we have to do it again and again all the time. So the last change happened this summer. But I think it's all smart people, like on all the levels in the companies, and they understand that innovation is important. And if you ask Carsten Spohr, who is the CEO of Lufthansa Group, he definitely will tell you, yeah, innovation is super important. We have to have innovations. But for him, it's like immediate results is more important than hypothetical innovation. And the world innovation sometimes is getting toxic for people.
Kiki, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, if I can add to that, so because we as an organization are a pretty big organization. So to give you guys an idea, today MasterCard works with about 26,000 issuers, banks. We have about 150 million merchants that today accept MasterCard. We have about thousands of products that we as an organization have, about 143 billion transactions that run through our network every single year. That's the size of MasterCard.
And how many employees do you have?
We have 32,000 employees.
That's small.
So it's
That's
small to what people actually think about when they think of the power and the scope and the brand that MasterCard actually has. The way that we approach innovation is, first of all, you need a culture that actually drives that innovation. You need to allow the people to be able to raise pain points, consumer needs, everything from the local level, which is where I sit predominantly. But I've also been in global roles. I've been in product roles. I've been with the company for 17 years. So been moving around, and always with a focus on digital. That's my expertise. So when you think about what does innovation need to drive on the company side, for us it's very clear. It's how do we make payments simple? How do we actually make payments smarter? And how do we actually drive payments in a way that they're secure? Those are the three principles. So long as innovation is framed within that mindset, then we believe we can actually push things forward. And then also, how do you actually, once you have the culture, then how do you actually drive those ideas into action? We have at MasterCard what we call the studio process. A studio has 4 phases. It is brought into the innovation group. It starts with a concept, an ideation, a design. That moves then into phase 2, which is much more about, is there a business case for this? By then, you're not even in pilot mode. POCs, pilots go in phase 3, and then the go-to-market is phase 4. Once we've actually made the decision, is this scalable? That is the most important critical decision that we have at the end of that journey. We kill the program if it doesn't work at any single one of those stages,
so
right?
Fail fast. Actually,
So
very
exactly,
simple.
to your
Very
point
same-
around
very same
failing
thing.
fast, you need to actually establish a way and criteria to be able to throw an idea away.
I see.
So
And
that's
you
a
need
little bit.
But you need the buy-in from top management. You have that anyway, right?
You do, and you have it in
Right,
in each of those stages.
Yes, right. Because how is it at Roche?
That it has to be, is that on? It has to be business relevant. So, is that on? Just
Take this one.
battery thing is up. Oh, no, it's coming up. So it's going to say you have to be business relevant. And then, yes, we do have a product life cycle similar to kind of what you're saying. And for me, the way to make business relevant is that you have to be solving a clear business question at the same time that you are listening to what is the need in the market. Because especially for us in health, it has to really be solving a clear customer need. SCPs or patients, we really need to be solving that. So when we put this matching between the clear customer need and the business relevant is how we did it. And really it's that the business leaders see that as their own way of doing things. So there is no someone doing innovation and then I bring this project or I don't bring this project. My projects have to be done in an innovative way or it doesn't get done.
Yeah, so you don't have an innovation division per se, right? You don't have that.
I mean, we have obviously kind of the R&D department, as I mentioned.
Right.
It's not that way. But in terms of especially for the digital health projects, they are embedded. I mean, all our projects are run in an innovative way because it's digital. So everything that is digital, as we know, it runs differently from the hardware part.
Yeah, because of course in R&D it's a different thing because you're producing drugs. Like that's a completely.
So one thing is
very different.
The laboratories where you are
Right.
kind of like investigating on the drugs, but when it comes to the services to our customers, it is embedded in the business units.
I would just like to build on what my colleagues have said, and definitely the digital mindset that you mentioned, and usually they say that the 30% of the effort is okay, the technological part, but then the 70% is actually the organizational change and how we implement that. And yes, you have mentioned that absolutely correctly. We believe there are at least 2 imperatives. That is the learning mindset, like how we actually educate our employees, how do we let them know how they can innovate, like so innovation is basically a change, right? And then I have a background in change management, and I actually can absolutely relate to the problem of executive team changing. And so this is a good point, like find a sponsor on the executive team, but then do not get frustrated when it changes. Because we, for example, also, I work with B2B customers, and we've also gone through reorg, which we go through very often. And then, the new team, they're actually quite enthusiastic and excited, and they're happy to embrace those changes. So actually, I would say just take that moment and just keep the momentum and let them know, like feed them with your idea, with that innovative idea that was already kind of pre-agreed on with the previous team. So yes.
So actually, what you do, actually, you're the best internal case for changing, right? In the organization. I don't know. I'm not sure if many organizations actually know that, because they could actually go to you. They don't need to, hire external change managers, because you are doing this, on a daily basis, right? And as you say, it's a mindset that, of course, there's a lot of smart people. If you read magazines that cover Business Review and etc. They say that the only companies in the future that will survive and thrive will be the ones who will be adapting an innovation mindset, because there is just no end, right? Because you always have to innovate, right? So from your individual perspectives and from your maybe self-assessment of who you are and whom you became, what do you think is needed if you would say, I'm going to expand my team? Like, what people do you look for, and what type of leadership skills do you need in an organization to build that mindset?
I will start with kind of like ourselves being adaptable. So we want the organization to be adaptable. So we have to be role models of what we want the organization to become. So I will say adapting, because markets are kind of clearly changing. I will say being a learning example. So I fight every day to kind of like, because I want my organization to be a learning organization. So then I have to be a learning organization, and I have to be listening in really deeply, both outside and inside. So be humble to listen to that. So you embody that, and then the organization will trickle down.
I like that a lot. And before you add, I was working with an organization, and I don't tell you the name, right? Big automotive company in Germany. And I had the HR team telling me that they have people in executive management that explicitly say they don't need to learn anything anymore, because they're now Vorstand. They are a member of the executive board. And that was
They're getting AI also. So
that was really shocking, right? It was interesting, and it was serious. It was not a joke, right? So if you describe, Raquel, what you say is great. How far at Roche would you say is that understanding going? Because I would say that probably also you have people in the organization who really don't like change, and they have a hard time, and you have to convince them. How do you do that?
Of course, I cannot talk for every single individual, but what I will say, especially again in this digital health area where I work, we are in a disruptive shift. We are moving, healthcare is moving with, not gonna mention AI. Well, I did, okay, fine. But kind of like, we have, a lot of new disruptive technologies that are happening, and either we adapt it, like it was mentioned before, or someone will do it before us. So because we are in the middle of a disruptive shift, we had no other choice, and I think it's understood in the company that either we learn fast, and by learn is sometimes failing, or we're going to be relevant. We may be selling drugs, but we're not really going to be relevant in the ecosystem.
You want to comment on that?
I very much appreciate people with a lot of curiosity. So I always ask, even when I'm interviewing, I always ask, well, what's your passion? Just tell me, what are you passionate about? Because usually it can tell me a lot about the person's interest beyond their work. And if they tell me, well, I'm just so dedicated, and I go to work, and that's kind of like what I look forward to. It's like, well, you're not curious enough. So I think there's curiosity for me, to your point, is really around learning. It's really around what guides you, what interests you, what sort of are you thinking about the future? Are you looking and reading about new things? So I think that's always for me a very good metric on curiosity. But I'm also very cautious about thinking that the only people that we need to bring into the organization are actually innovative people or people that fit into a single mindset, because then you don't get the diversity that you actually need. So we still need to figure out a way to have that balance. Otherwise, if it's only people that are going to be change agents and transformative agents, then you may actually end up with a chaos in your organization. So you want a balance between the two, but you do want people that are challenging the status quo, that are bringing new ideas, that are finding those ideas in many different ways to advance and to obviously adjust to whatever is happening.
Yeah, and you need a culture as well, right?
Yeah.
The culture has to allow that to happen, right? How do you do it at Sunrise? Like, where are you on that, the innovation, adaptation, learning, curiosity level?
Well, I'm biased, right? If you ask me. At the same time, if we talk about innovation in general, Sunrise doesn't jump immediately into trends, right? So we apply more structured approach, more evaluation is given to that. Sometimes even we're fine watching how others are doing it and then adopting it as well. But as to the question, like what I would say, like who would I hire for the team? I would probably put on the table something we already all know and heard of, that is growth mindset. And I was recently reminded by it. The other day I was listening to this interview with Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft. Totally recommend the latest one on YouTube. And he was telling about his story and that when he read this book by Carol Dweck, he was so impressed. He made pretty much everyone read that book because the idea there is that our mistakes do not define us. It is okay to fail fast. So we have to experiment. So that kind of thing we can call different ways, but in general, that's the umbrella term of this growth mindset.
Yeah. So, Ivan, how do you do it, and how do you convince your colleagues at Lufthansa Group? How big is the group in total? How many thousand?
The group?
Like everybody?
Innovation Lufthansa Group, it's more than 100,000 people.
Yeah.
Innovation Hub, 60 people.
60. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a big job.
Yeah, well, we have to optimize our activities.
Yeah. So what is your experience? Because, I also would like, of course, everybody to be open and say, what are challenges, right? Because it's not always, great. And I've been in this space for so long, I see so many frustrated people. So some things don't work, and it's okay, because you then have to find maybe a different approach. Like, what is your experience right now so far?
I mean, it's actually been crazy experience. I mean, personally, I will say about myself, because I actually started my career like a long time ago in aviation, in academia. So I was working in German Aerospace Center for like 8 years, and if you know academia, it's very, very slow. I mean, projects takes like 3 years. You don't rush yourself. You do what is interesting and just cover your interest with the things. Then I had experienced a couple of startups, but then I joined Innovation Hub, which when I joined there in the first week, I was thinking, oh my God, what a crazy place. I mean, it's just like, why they're rushing so, why stress level is so high? But then actually I realized, and now it's great learning. So this entrepreneurial spirit, I mean, the spirit of I want to do this. I mean, the motivation of people to deliver something new and implement this and see the results, it was so strong. I mean, people driving their own ideas from the end to end, and it's amazing. I mean, I learned a lot, also driving the team and building the team there. But the culture in the Innovation Hub is actually to get very passionate people. We don't really have many people connected to aviation. I think out of the 60 people, maybe 10 people have some experience in aviation itself. Because we're taking people who are having ideas, they're very passionate about the ideas, they want to change the industry, they want to change the things people work in the industry, in this legacy industry like we are, which is great. And I think it's great for hub level. I mean, it shouldn't be like this everywhere. As you said, there should be very healthy balance, because if 100,000 people like this, it's going to be a mess.
I think there are not so many. You will not find them anyway.
Yeah, and that's another thing. It's very hard to find talents. Yes, I mean, we're an international team also because it's very hard to find talents locally. So we're hiring a lot of people outside.
Okay, that's exciting. Actually, our topic here was as well that we talk about real tools, right? So I think we didn't really touch the topic on tools. Does anybody want to contribute on this? Do you actually, for your innovation processes, are they actual real tools you're using or processes? I mean, there's a lot of methods, of course, like design thinking, whatever. Is there any real tech tools that you use or do you test? You do? Raquel, you want to share a little bit?
Sure. I know that a lot, sorry. Sure. So, I mean, I will say, but again, I will say up front, it's all about, I talk about adaptation. So it's not always one size fits all. for every single problem. I think overall, and I mentioned it before, is understanding the problem you are solving, and whatever tool fits into that. So so making sure you're solving the right problem and that you're solving it right. But I can mention a few examples. Obviously, we use a lot lean innovation. So, but I'm sure everybody's kind of like quite familiar here. We had not
Maybe
invented.
you share a little bit more for the
So
audience.
I like it, but basically we put together the business language of the business model. So where you use the lean business model canvas as the compass for a lot of decision making in the business, and then we apply all the understanding what is the bigger risk that they need to de-risk it. So applying that kind of like a very recursive, fast learning way, even from the beginners, you mentioned, from the very early front-end stages of the ideation and understanding the problem, you may be de-risking the problem, or you're de-risking more on the revenue stream or the channels or whatever you need to do. So you kind of get the business language of it, but you get also the a language that is follows a lot of design thinking and follows a lot of understanding on the problem and then the customer that you are doing. That's one of them. But again, we're constantly experimenting. We're using a lot of different tools and also to get the insights. So we're also getting very experimental about how do we get the insights from our customer.
You want to add to that, Kiki?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think for us it's less about the tool, it's more about the approaches and the frameworks that we're using. So, I mean, I talked about Studio, for example. This is kind of like how we measure progress in terms of the ideation and everything. We also have, for example, because when we work with so many banks, one of the things that we do is what we call digital safari. A digital safari is basically the idea that I'm bringing a bank from Chile to the United States to actually talk about and bring experts on AI, on economic trends, on anything. So to spark new ideas. And so that's a different framework, just getting people out. So there's a different intent for why we're actually doing that. We have Launchpads, which is a 48-hour, like full ideation process that we do with our customers. So it's a full co-cooperation approach in which by the end of the 48 hours, there's already a prototype. And by the end of the week, there's already going to be almost like an application or an API or something that will be tangible so that that customer can take to their senior leadership and say, like, look, this is basically the idea that we were thinking, in a visual way. So, for us, it's much more about establishing those frameworks or different approaches so that we can collectively with our customers be able to push that innovation that we want.
And it's an iterative process, right?
Yeah.
You do it over again, again, and you learn and get better, et cetera, et cetera. Great. Questions, because we wanted to use the last minutes for questions. Starting over here. Please stand up, speak out loud, because you see we have not only only 3 micros left with battery. So does anybody here? Everything is closed because you say reasons are budget cuts, economic crisis. Right. That's right. Yeah. So longer breath. Yeah, patience. Right. Right. So you had no question then. I thought you had a question. No. So, thank you for the comment then.
We had actually a great program, and even people are coming back years later. I set up an accelerator program. So it's a 3-month program where actually an entrepreneurship program, where people really use and learn the skills like customer centricity, design, canvas, in a real setting.
I have to take you. Let's do it in the break because we have questions and people. I hope. Let's hope.
But if I can comment on that one, it's actually a balance between the two.
Yeah.
Because I can argue that we as MasterCard as an organization, I've invested over the last 6 years, over $8 billion in cybersecurity from organizations that we have bought because we believe it actually helps accelerate that life cycle to bring new innovation into markets. Specifically in the cybersecurity space, with companies at scale, like have been at scale, the last one being Recorded Future. But we also work with fintechs. We also work with the startups. And we work obviously to promote the culture. So it's a complex process because you have to be accepting of the fact that things are changing and they're changing faster than ever before. So you need to have a strategy that is looking at all of these different areas, including what is your M&A strategy.
Maybe just a very quick comment to this one.
Yeah.
I mean, if you imagine an ideal world, we don't need innovation hubs and labs and whatever separate units. It has to be like within the DNA of the company, like in the way like startups. Yeah, startups doesn't have an innovation unit there, so that's probably where everything goes.
Maybe the question also is: do you also see what you describe as more budget cuts on innovation or labs? I mean, I'm living in the city of labs in Germany. And Berlin became the hub of corporate labs, right? So everybody who wanted to be innovative said, you do innovation? Yeah. We just opened a lab in Berlin. Oh, wow, really? You do a lab. And then the CEO goes there, changes shoes to sports shoes, takes off the T-shirt, and then he does interviews in the innovation hub in Berlin, right? And of course, everybody in the headquarters says, hopefully they never come to headquarters, right? They should all stay in Berlin but never come here because we don't want that culture.
I just would like to say one thing is that there is no silver bullet here.
Right.
So as it's been said, so there is on one hand, then you can kind of like create capabilities, so you have some learning capabilities programs, but then you also kind of helping the business unit. You also have external innovations. I think we need to have them all. Why do we need to pick and build on one?
Yes, we need all. That's right. So more questions in the back.
My name is Sajjad. I'm a partner in a VC in Stuttgart, and we are pushing for open innovation. When we talk about the silver bullet, any of you individuals or your corporations think as a corporation as a platform, enabling others to build on top of it? Because when we are talking that they are not economically viable, because your businesses are not dependent on them. But thinking as a platform, like what Microsoft or Apple does, it really makes it.
We do. So we have a full developer. We have a full developer program, a full developer access platform that anybody can actually access. There's specific products in there that are available, including, for example, tokenization. So tokenization is a technology that Apple Pay, Google Pay, and everybody uses to enable mobile payments on a mobile device. Okay, so once we have that connectivity into Apple, I'm not going out and really pushing all of that with every single stakeholder in my ecosystem. There's many different providers that do that. So going through our developer program, you can get access to that. And that's just one example, but that's in essence how we get to scale and how we solve for the scale.
Right.
I will say that our point of view is more about an ecosystem point of view. So we do have, when you bring a digital health solution to a hospital, you really need to collaborate. Or you're not going to be able to have all the pieces, and you have to collaborate with a lot of different software. You need to change the workflow of the nurses sometimes or the doctors. So we do have an ecosystem point of view, and in that sense, we also have some solutions, for example, for hospitals, where we actually allow third parties to kind of like also integrate their solutions. But in general, when we go with these big digital solutions, we have an ecosystem view. You have to be able to connect and complement.
Thank you. One last question, please.
My name is Marcel. I work for a company called Mantra. We're based in Munich, actually, and we've been working with large help them innovate on certain processes. My main question at the moment, okay, we have this exposure working with large corporates, Bosch, Volkswagen, etc. My point right now is touching up on what he said. Actually, is we need to try to like integrate more startups and foster collaborative opportunities because I believe like it's a win-win situation on a 100%, right? And I've been speaking to a lot of people. If I don't meet them in person, it's a very tough conversation because LinkedIn is always like, you know, behind a screen. I don't know you, like we cannot really have a conversation. So do you feel like some people are beginning to be more open to having these conversations because of how much they understand that there's a need for that? Just wanted to like quickly get your opinion on that.
That's why we do this event today. No, we have a good reason why for that. Now, I think what you heard already from the panel here is that it depends, right? Typical consultant stuff, it depends. So it depends, and I think from outside, what I see as well, it is really depending on the product itself. Right? It's a very different product. The use case is very different because it's very different if I do it for a telco provider or if I work with an ecosystem in healthcare. It's like very different. Or you're actually more or less like an open API company that is allowing everybody to plug in and test out stuff, right? Very different. And of course, we don't want that with Lufthansa. Everybody starts messing around with your data. So it's very different. And I think where we are, and maybe I can use this as well to close here because we are out of time, and you have to go. The potential inside companies is of course with those gentlemen and ladies here. And it's probably really depending on culture and I would say finally it's a leadership topic. I'm totally convinced it's a leadership issue. If you don't have leadership and if you don't have an executive sponsor right on top level, it probably will not work, right? So and maybe this is just the process, right? If people and companies don't understand it, they will die. That's the way it is. Companies always died. If you look back in history 150 times, there was, after 50 years, there were so many companies that we don't know that were very, very big. And they didn't make it. They didn't make the next S curve. The innovator's dilemma? If you don't do it, if you don't have the right mindset, you will run out of business. I was recently at an event and somebody said, very scary, that he thinks that Volkswagen in Germany had a Nokia moment now, right? And Volkswagen is very big. We're talking about 650,000 employees. So this is scaring not only Volkswagen, but Germany, right, when you say that. So we don't know, and I think we're living in exciting times, and you're at the forefront of changing these things. So thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing your insights, and I wish you all the best for your innovation journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.